Hi, welcome to Main Street Macro. I'm Neela Richardson. Last week, we got news that inflation fell again, mainly driven by a big drop in gas prices. We've seen inflation move widely over the last 3 years, but one price level that has not budged since 2009 is the federal minimum wage. At the start of this year, more than half the states in the United States took it in their own hands to raise the minimum at the state level, all the way up to $15 for the state of Washington. Cities are also following suit, taking it in their hands to even raise rates, the minimums locally. So here are three little known facts about the federal minimum wage and what you can expect at the state and local level in the year ahead. The first fact is that very few people actually make the minimum wage. In fact, if you look at ADP data and the over 25 million workers that ADP provides payroll services for in the United States, only 3.7% of those make the federal minimum of $7.25 or less. And the BLS itself also has a very small number. Only 1.4%, according to the BLS survey, make the federal minimum wage or lower. But it is worth noting that more women, in fact, double the number of women in terms of percentages, make at or below the federal minimum than men. The second thing to know about the federal minimum is that it has not kept up by inflation by any means. In fact, if you go back all the way to 1980, the federal minimum was $3.10. If you were to adjust that number for inflation, the federal minimum wouldn't be $7.25. It would actually be closer to $12. And so there has been a big disparity in terms of what inflation would call the minimum to be and what it actually is. And that's why we've seen so much action at the state level. And here's the third thing to know: the federal minimum is not the same as a living wage. If you were to make $7.25 and you worked for 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, you'd make about an annual salary of $15,000. $15,000. Now, think about it. How much does it take to rent an apartment, to put gas in the car, maybe have a car payment? If you have children, $15,000 is not a lot of money. And that's why you're seeing a lot of states and a lot of cities have their minimums at the local level much higher than the federal minimum. Now, if you take all these three little known facts together, one thing is fairly clear. Since very few people make at or below the minimum wage, all the increases that we're seeing at the state and local level in 2023 are unlikely to have a big impact on wage pressures overall. And that's good news for inflation. Thanks for watching the Main Street Macro. For more information on the week ahead, inflation, wages, and the economic outlook, please go to adpri.org.